Hi everyone, it's Four Corners and welcome to a video looking at all 21 versions of Wojira. What happens is, since Wojira is one of the oldest and most dangerous threats that Ninjago has ever had, literally existing before the first Ninjutsu master even came to Ninjago, this legend is known worldwide and even in other realms sometimes. And just like any other legend that's been passed down for that many generations, the image and story has evolved over time. And that gives us 21 different versions of the image of Wojira. The story stayed pretty consistent throughout the years in Ninjago. Our first quote-unquote Wojira was found in the Neverrealm. The people of the village seem to call it Mala Wojira, so the name changed a bit, and it's also a snow avalanche this time. Definitely not a sea monster. I don't know how the legend traveled that far because the Neverrealm is one of the farthest realms from Ninjago, so it's crazy that the legend is somewhat known over there, even if it's not completely accurate. The second Wojira images are on the Island of the Keepers. These guys are all about Wojira. They're guarding the Storm Amulet so that nobody can take it and awaken Wojira again. So what happens is their whole culture ends up being based on Wojira. You can see this one chubby design of Wojira on their Catamaran sails, their shields, and their armor. A cool thing about the Wojira design is when you see it on things that wear and tear and have to be replaced a lot, the design is far off from the original thing because the image keeps evolving. But when we get to other entries in this list, like scrolls or artifacts that have existed since Wojira's beginning and haven't been replaced, those are more accurate to the original thing. So that's a cool detail about this Wojira art. The third Wojira is the boat head on the Catamarans. This doesn't really look too much like Wojira, but you can tell it's inspired by a giant mythical sea creature. And then again, on the Catamaran, you're going to see a more abstract Wojira with just a serpent face, fangs, and eyes. It's not confirmed to be Wojira specifically, but we know it's probably Wojira because these guys are all about that. The fifth entry is Wojira on the spinning rock disc, which tells the story of the Keepers. And this one is again very abstract. It's just meant to get across the idea of the Keepers and their association with Wojira. The sixth entry is Wojira on the Tooth of Wojira episode title card from the island. Number 7, we have the fake Wojira that Roden built to scam the Keepers. That was extremely toxic of him, but this fake Wojira looks pretty cool. I wish we got a set of this. That would have been nice. Wojira was on the Storm and Wave Amulet, and this design crosses over a lot. Then coming over to LEGO's branding, they did this really cool thing where in the island sets where Wojira was first being introduced, they had a paper Wojira, very abstract, still pretty cool. And when the Seabound sets came out, they had Wojira ripping out of the paper since the mystery was revealed of how Wojira looked like. So that is pretty cool. I really like the art of Wojira ripping out of the Seabound set boxes. Speaking of sets, in the Temple of the Endless Sea, we got a build of Wojira. And while this isn't very accurate to the show, first of all, it can't hold 2 amulets with the standard build. It's easy to customize, but it still can't hold 2 amulets, which is unfortunate. The head is also a little inaccurate because in the show it looks very intelligent and smart, while here it just looks like a ruthless killer. So there's pros and cons to both. I also wish we got an actual proper set of Wojira, maybe something bigger, because this one is smaller than the Fire Fang even. So the Wojira build is alright, but it would have been nice to get something a little bit more substantial for such an important Ninjago serpent, especially since the season is all about that. Then now we're going to start getting to the more closer versions of Wojira, or the Wojira we know of. One is in Wu's scroll telling the story of how Naiad defeated Wojira originally, and see how this more original document has Wojira looking like what we know Wojira to look like. I definitely really appreciate that continuity. Number 13, we have Wojira's upper and lower jaw painted on those sea scrolls inside Kalmaar's room. And there's actually a few different versions of Wojira here. We also have a full Wojira painting inside Kalmaar's room, just kind of looking at the anatomy of the thing. So these are more ancient documents because these are very close to the actual physical form of Wojira. Then there's also Benthomaar's paper Wojira he made for Kalmaar, but Kalmaar threw it away, which was very messed up. But good job for Benthomaar's effort. Number 16 is Clutch Power's version of Wojira. And speaking of handmade Wojiras, this one is definitely a lot worse than Benthomaar's. According to Clutch Powers, it's supposed to be realistic illustrations of the adventure since he lost his camera, but it's definitely not the case. Wojira looks pretty adorable here though. Number 17 is Wojira's full diagram revealing those side flippers. I wish we got to see more of those. It looked like an actual dinosaur. I wish we saw more underwater Wojira battles in general. Wojira's head was popping out of the water for the most part. 18 is Wojira on some of the Seabound title cards. They're pretty much the same design all over. The design doesn't really change much. And then number 19 is Wojira in Benthomaar's flashback story of Naiad. This is one of the more well-known versions of Wojira we all remember, and this is also the oldest version of Wojira. Almost finishing up the list, in number 20 we have the real Wojira, the actual thing. This one was a beast in the show. It could shoot wave and lightning out of its mouth, which looked amazing when it came together. This thing was really intimidating in the show, and it was super fun to watch it swim around and shoot those blasts. And finally, in the number 21 spot, we have concept art Wojira. And I have to say, I think I like this Wojira more. I mean, just look at that long body. It's just going all over the city with rising waves. I really like the idea. I don't know how that would translate to 3D animation, because I don't know how all that could be going on at the same time while looking kind of realistic. But nonetheless, this concept art is really cool. And that is all for looking at all 21 ways Wojira was visualized, from Lego sets to the actual TV series. Comment down below which one was your favorite. Mine is definitely the concept art Wojira. That was epic. Thank you for watching a Seabound themed video surrounding the ultimate water serpent. And as usual, I'll see you in the next one. Bye.